Pleased to be joined once again, and someone that you can see in multiple different interviews on that website. It's Peter Provenzano Jr., the Chancellor of Oakland Community College, joining us again on the MegaCast. Peter, thanks for being back with us.
Good morning, Tyler. It's always a pleasure to spend some time with you.
Pleasure to have you on as well. So, as we approach the beginning of the year, and as we have begun the year in many of our educational institutions, what is the status over at Oakland Community College? How are things going so far? Is it mostly in-person learning for this year? What is the status at O.C.C?
Things are going really well. So this is our first semester in, wow, almost 2 years that we have brought back our face-to-face classes. And with vaccines, and it's allowed us to do that. But the real silver lining here is that we have more online classes than ever before, because we just took the time during the pandemic to get better at it and to train more faculty on it. So we're back face to face, but we're also providing more online classes than ever before, and as well as hybrid. I've spent the last couple of days, so classes just started a couple of days ago, starting on Monday. I've spent the last few days on the campuses, walking around, talking to faculty, talking to staff, as well as our students, and I can tell you that people are excited to be back. And they're also really pleased with the options that they have to not only be back face-to-face, but also online if that works out better for their schedule.
We're joined by Peter Provenzano Jr. He is the Chancellor at Oakland Community College with us today on the MegaCast. And Peter, as you mentioned, all those options that the students have. For those that are in person, because it's such a hot button issue right now, I have to ask, what is the mask and vaccination requirement status at Oakland Community College? Is it different campus to campus? Is it consistent across the board? What are the rules that are in place?
So we have 5 campuses across Oakland County, and for all 5 campuses, we have a mask mandate in place, regardless of your vaccination status. And that's because Oakland County is, while we have a high percentage of high vaccination rate in Oakland County, we still are seeing this uptick in cases due to the Delta variant, which is no big surprise. Everybody is following that. And that's forced Oakland County, as well as really the entire state of Michigan, but Oakland County to be in this substantially high to high risk area. And so while we're in that area, we decided to have a mask mandate as we return back to class. And then within a week or so after that, Oakland County executive came out and made it mandatory for all of Oakland County. But we currently right now do not have a vaccine mandate. We're a little bit different than some of the universities. We are a commuter school. There are no dormitories. And so we have a very transient population of students. So right now we're really just focusing on encouraging students to get their vaccine, encouraging them to practice proper hygiene, washing their hands, simple things that we all know. And while we're in this high risk category, wear a mask. As I said, I've been at the campuses, and students, faculty, staff, they're all complying. And I don't know that anyone really loves wearing a mask, but it certainly seems to be something that we're all used to and we all expect. And I think people appreciate that as far as allowing everyone to stay safe.
We're joined by Peter Provenzano Jr., the Chancellor of Oakland Community College, with us on the MegaCast. And Peter, earlier on in the pandemic, as other colleges and universities throughout the state were transitioning from in-person learning to online, as students were going back home for their school year and maybe leaving their universities and deciding to forego a semester and take classes instead at a community college or take a semester off. We did see an enrollment increase at some of our community colleges. In terms of this current school year, are we continuing to see enrollment evolve positively at Oakland Community College?
Yeah, we've been fortunate at Oakland, and I think it's just really the way that we've positioned the college and how quickly we transitioned all of those face-to-face classes at the beginning of the pandemic to online, and just really the way that we've supported students through the entire pandemic. Unlike most community colleges and universities, our enrollment has actually been pretty steady. Others have seen, in some cases, double-digit decline semester after semester. We've been pretty steady throughout the pandemic, and I can tell you that now that we're back face-to-face, I used to say post-pandemic. I'm not sure we're post-pandemic just yet, but I can tell you that when you compare our enrollment now, it's actually up. So we anticipate this fall. Still a little early to tell, classes just started, but we really think we're going to end this fall with a double-digit increase, which is really telling about just the commitment of the team and our commitment to students and their success.
We're joined by Peter Provenzano Jr., the Chancellor of Oakland Community College, today on the MegaCast. And Peter, there's a reported $7 million in federal grant money that is becoming available this fall semester at O.C.C. to students. How is that money going to be divvied up? What does that go towards?
Tyler, that's a great question. We actually have $14 million that is being sent to us for the entire year from the federal government. But what we decided to do is to break that up into two pieces, the fall semester as well as the winter semester, and we've divided it up amongst both semesters, $7 million each. What we're going to do is we're going to distribute that to our students, and right now we're encouraging our students to apply for that money. They will receive at least $300 per student. It could be more depending on their financial need, but at a minimum, they'll receive $300. And that goes a long way. Let me give you an example. At Oakland Community College, because we are incredible value, our credit hours are $99 a credit hour. That's the cost for in-district tuition. And so if you do some really quick division, a $300 distribution of federal money will actually pay for an entire class at O.C.C. So we're really encouraging our students to apply for that money. It is just, we want to give it to them. We're trying to get it out and get the word out.
Who is eligible for this grant money?
Everyone, all students. Any student that is taking classes this fall at O.C.C. will be eligible for that money.
And how? Where does this money come from? It's federal grant money, but how specifically did O.C.C. come to obtain this? Was this generally applied to different education institutions, or did O.C.C. have to apply for it?
Yeah, so it was actually given to all higher education institutions. It's Higher Education Relief Funds. We call it HERF in short. And it's really part of the pandemic relief that was sent to the United States, from the United States government to all higher ed institutions. And so we have a little bit of flexibility how we need to distribute that, but essentially it has to go directly to our students. And so we decided to give it directly to our students to allow that money to put it to good use so that they can use it to further their educational journey.
We're joined by Peter Provenzano Jr., the Chancellor at Oakland Community College, with us on the MegaCast. And you mentioned earlier on the variety of different educational opportunities that are still available for students in this semester. While a lot of people are returning to in-person learning at many institutions, including O.C.C., what are some of those additional options that are available for students? And once they're in one subset versus the other, or they're mixed between, do they have opportunities to transition to others depending on where they are at with COVID-19 and their feelings and of safety toward the virus?
They really do. So that's what's beautiful, and that's a real silver lining, as I mentioned, to this pandemic. We are providing more online classes, in fact, more online programs. We're well on our way in a couple years to have 22 fully online programs available to students. And so that provides an extreme amount of flexibility to them to continue on with their educational journey that wasn't available to them before. Also, we have all of our student services online. That was something that we learned how to do really, really well during the pandemic. You couple all of those things with the face-to-face classes that we're known for, and students have the flexibility to continue on with their educational journey with extreme, they have extreme flexibility. That really goes hand in hand with what we're known about, what we're known for. One of the things that we really encourage students to do, and we have done this for the last 50 years of our existence, is to try new things. When you have credit hours at $99 in-district tuition rate for $99 a credit hour, it allows you to explore a little bit more. Oftentimes when universities are far more expensive than that, to try a class to see if you think that this might be a good fit for you, it can be incredibly expensive. With O.C.C., you have the ability to try new things and explore what you're really passionate about. On top of that, we have scholarships and federal money that's available, as we just mentioned, to help offset the costs even further.
We're joined by Peter Provenzano Jr., the Chancellor of Oakland Community College, today on the MegaCast. And Peter, earlier on, we had talked about a situation earlier on in the pandemic where students that were going to virtual learning from their four-year institutions maybe took a couple of gap semesters, a gap year, went to community colleges instead to take care of some of those prerequisite classes or reevaluate their educational future. How has that relationship then impacted institutions like yours and your relationships with those four-year universities? Because ultimately those students are looking to go back in most cases to those institutions, but it also changes the game for those institutions also, because they know that they're losing a lot of students and they want to be able to retain them without having them in a situation where they may forego returning to that institution because some of their classes that they took in the meantime don't transfer over.
It's interesting. The pandemic really has not changed our relationship with our four-year university partners. We've always had a great relationship with our university partners. In fact, most universities, especially in Metro Detroit, about depending on the year, 40 to 50% of their graduates actually came as a transfer student. They came from somewhere else, most likely one of the area community colleges. And so our universities have always identified the fact that we are a tremendous feeder school to them. In fact, there was one of the semesters that their new enrollment was actually down during the pandemic, some of the universities, but their transfer students coming from community colleges was actually up. And so I actually think that this pandemic strengthened our relationship with those universities. And it also allowed students to, as I mentioned, to stay on their academic journey. We've had situations where students may have took a gap year. As I would say, don't take a gap year. There's no reason to sit on the bench, stay in the game. They may have taken a gap year with all of the disruption, but instead they took a class at O.C.C. They did it online, and now they're transferring it back to their respective university. During a time when that university may have been closed, the dormitories were closed and there was a tremendous amount of disruption. So I think we've done a really nice job of partnering with the universities to continue to work together, both of us, to focus on the success of students across Oakland County.
We're joined by Peter Provenzano Jr., the Chancellor of Oakland Community College, with us today on the MegaCast. And Peter, just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Is there anything else that would be interesting or important for our audience to know about Oakland Community College this semester or going forward before we say goodbye?
Several things. One of the things that I've been really passionate about and talking to parents across Oakland County is something that many of them don't know about. We're trying to get the word out, but there is a dual enrollment program through the state of Michigan where high school students are able to take a class at a higher educational institution at Oakland Community College, and you can do this for free. And it's a great way for a high school student to kind of dip their toe in the water, take a college credit class. Not only will it transfer to any university that you may decide to go to, hopefully decide to stay with O.C.C. And use it towards your certificate or degree, but it allows you to try some different things. There's a lot of pressure on students in high school to decide what they want to be when they grow up. And I can tell you my kids have taken advantage of dual enrollment, and they've taken CAD classes and some different art classes, and to try to determine what type of career, what type of degree do they ultimately want to do. And also the skilled trades, it's huge. We have a ton of skilled trades programs that are available to high school students, and they can take these classes through dual enrollment for free. So reach out to your local high school counselor.
Well, Peter, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Love to be with you.